So welcome everyone, good morning, afternoon and evening. You know why you are here. You are here because yesterday Blizzard previewed to us the Dragonflight Talent trees for Priest. So Holy, Discipline and Shadow are now available for testing, at the very least theoretically, since of course we don't have an alpha, we don't have a beta, but you know, let's just be fine with it for now. First takes on these talents. Discipline Priest is a clear winner of these talents. Shadow Priest is the fun, weird type of winner, although Shadow Priest has been sort of on the weird side ever since Warlord. So I have been hopeful about the many changes of Shadow Priest every time, and every time it felt like they let me down. So I would be wary of being too hopeful about Shadow Priest again. And then the weakest one, the least I guess exciting one would be Holy Priest. Let's just go on the important stuff in the Priest tree first. So the first thing to notice is that Shadow Flame Prism makes a comeback, not as a legendary just for Shadow Priest, but for everyone. It's a talent now, obtainable by everyone, and very likely will be obtained by everyone because it's very powerful, and it's gonna be at the end of a long line of power increases for your Shadow Fiend. So you will be taking your Shadow Fiend improvement for mana regen, you will turn it into a Mind Bender, you will increase the attack speed, and then lastly you will get Shadow Flame Prism. Then the other news is the Covenant ability. Mind Games is the only surviving Covenant ability at the moment for Priest. All the others die out. This means Boon of the Ascended is gone, which means a lot of the reasons why, for example, right now Holy Priest can do so much damage in Mythic Plus, for example, is gone. It's just gonna be Mind Games from now. Another legendary makes a cut. You have Twins of the Sun Priestess for double power infusion application. Of course, if this talent exists, it means power infusion must be somewhere, and it is. News of the day, Power Infusion is seemingly making the cut despite the community outrage and their pleas to remove Power Infusion from the game. Looks like it's not. Looks like it still will be present in Dragonflight. Let's just hope that continuous community bitching towards Blizzard will eventually make them remove Power Infusion. Of the new things, we have a brand new ability right here, Holy Ward Life, yet another Holy Ward. This is a panic button, 30-second cooldown heal that is going to be healing for a lot, but only if the target is below 20% health. This might be very good for Discipline, because Discipline is the healer with the hardest time to heal back up to full a target that dropped low. Discipline wants to prevent the damage taken, they don't want to heal it after. If they have to heal it after, they have to keep spamming Shadow Mend, which is just depressing. It's not something they want to do, so perhaps this might help Discipline Priest a lot. Lastly, of the new cool stuff in here is perhaps the strongest talent in the game for raid healers, because it's Throes of Pain. If an enemy dies while affected by your Shadow Word Pain, you gain 10% mana. It's just broken. It's effectively telling you that you now have infinite mana in Mythic Plus, absolutely zero problems whatsoever in Mythic Plus, and also zero problems whatsoever in any encounter that has a steady stream of adds. Just go back to Sepulchre, just look at the Sepulchre fights. Vigilant Guardian, infinite mana to the Priest. Dosen, you have a constantly spawning ad for some decent mana regen. You have Zymox, 2 intermission phases for tons of mana regen, plus the platforms that you can send the Priest in to get even more mana back. Prototype Pantheon, 4 ads spawning every time, gives you back 40% of your mana. You have a Lihuvim, every intermission the Priest goes back to full mana. You have Anduin, every time the ads are spawning you go back to full mana. Rigelon, constantly at full mana. Loads of Dread, every time you have to kill the ad you gain 10% more mana. And then the Jailer, just phase 3, when all of the ads are spawning you go from 0% mana to 100% in one go. So yeah, it's a very powerful talent for mana regen for Priests at the moment. Given this talent tree for Priests, the clearer thing I can see in this talent tree is that it's going to be much more smooth and logical to build down your tree if you are Discipline and if you are Shadow. It's going to be much harder for Holy Priest to be sparing points compared to Discipline and Shadow. Why? Because going from the top, Shadow Flame Prism, as we said, is down the Shadow Fiend empowerment line. Then you have Mind Games, which is after a terrible talent, which you don't really want to take, but If you want to go for mind games, you have to take it. And then the 10% fade damage reduction, which is okay. Right after Power Infusion, you have Must Dispel, which is a very easy one. You can easily ignore some of these talents for being terrible, like the Mind Control and the Improved Mind Control can be skipped. You have the whole Empowerment of Holy Nova, which can be skipped. After being forced to take Holy Nova, if you want to go down this way, you can skip Improved Holy Nova and you can skip Tools of the Cloth for even more Holy Nova damage. So unless Holy Nova becomes actually viable, you can just skip all of this. And then to go down this row, to go down the new ability, the Holy Word Life, you have to take Unwavering Will for 20% faster casting of Flesh Heal, Prayer of Healing, and Smite if you are at above 75% health, which is very strong. And then Blessing of Renewal, renew heals for an additional 5%, and this mana cost is reduced. This is also very strong for a Holy Priest. So as a Holy Priest, you kind of want to take Renew all the time, right? Remember, Flesh Concentration, spoiler down the Holy Tree, there is no Flesh Concentration here anymore. So without Flesh Concentration, you have to go back to healing with Prayer of Healing, with Prayer of Mending, with Renew, much more often than you do now. So you have to take Renew, you have to take Benediction, you have to take Renewed Fate for flat out more healing on targets affected by Renew, you have to take your 10% mana regen to be able to go down this road. You very likely will have to take Improved Smite for 50% more smite damage, if anything, just to be able to reach Power Infusion, right? Just for that. Once you're here, you can take Holy Nova, you can take Cleric's Armament to go down this road, but now you're stopped. You can't go any deeper. You take Must Dispel, you take Angel's Mercy, you take Twins of the Sun Priestess, now you're still blocked, you take Disease Dispel, you take your movement ability, you take Mind Restraint just to get to Twist of Fate. Twist of Fate unlocks this side of the tree. Take Twist of Fate, take Shadow Fiend, Throes of Pain, improve Shadow Fiend, Mindbender, and then you're stopped. This makes it harder for you to reach both of these lines, to take Holy Word Life and to take Shadow Flame Prism. It makes it harder for you, for example, you can't have Shadow Word Death, you can't have cooldown reduction on Mind Blast, for example. It just seems more clunky to fill out, is what I mean. Meanwhile, if you look at Shadow, or if you look at Discipline, you start out with Shadow Word Death. You take your Disease Dispel and your movement ability, you take Mind Restraint just to get the Power Infusion, or if you are Discipline, more likely, you take damage increase of Smite to go here. You take Shadow Mend to take Improved Mind Blast for Twist of Fate, Shadow Fiend. Same things you take as a Holy Priest. You spend 1 point in Leap of Fate just to enable this row. And then you spend these points here. And let's just finish with 2 more points, which we're gonna put in 6% more Mastery when Shadow Fiend is active. Sure. You see, this is much more logical, you know, even something like this. Let's just empower Shadow Word Death, why not? Let's just give us Shackle Undead, why not? This is much more smooth, it's much more easy to go down if you are a Discipline or a Shadow Priest compared to Holy. That's why I said it's one of the problems of Holy Priest, this talent tree looks harder to fill out compared to the other side. When it comes to the actual specific tree, for the specs, today we are going to be looking at Discipline, because as I said, it's the one that looks the more powerful overall compared to the other 2 specs of Priest. So of the Discipline stuff, there are some cool things we're about to see. So after Atonement, Penance, Purify, the choice between Solace and Shield Discipline, Power Word Radiance, Power of the Dark Side as a passive that you already have as a Discipline Priest, Schism as a talent you already have, Pain Suppression as a baseline ability. All of this stuff is of course already a no-brainer. We do have something new, however, right here. Inner Light and Shadow. Inner Light is going to make your healing spells cost 15% less, and Inner Shadow is going to give you 10% more spell damage and Atonement healing. Now, we just reviewed this OP thing right here. If this exists, you have no reason to not constantly stay in Inner Shadow for more damage, because this is just gonna give you way more mana than this right here. So this is the first take. After the obvious stuff you take at the start, of course, for Radiance you take the Power Word Radiance has an additional cooldown usage. You don't need to take this. You don't need to heal 20% more with Radiance. You're going to be healing with the Atonement that Radiance is going to apply to players, not with the healing of Radiance itself. Also, now you're going to the next row. Now you have here 50% more duration of Schism. This might not be needed in the sense that Schism is only useful if you have the ramp, the damage after the ramp of Discipline. If you have the 9-second abilities to fill this window, it's unlikely that you will need a 15-second window of damage for your atonements. So this is unlikely. I'm not sure going to be taken all the times at least. You have Power of the Dark Side to increase the effectiveness of Penance by 10%. Not that powerful, you just want it to go down this row. The damage of Penance and healing of the first bolt is increased by 20%. Sins of the Many, an already existing talent for Discipline Priest, is needed to get to Rapture. And then you can go down this road. Contrition, when you heal with Penance, everyone with your atonement is healed for a small amount, which allows you to get Castigation for an extra bolt of Penance, which also unlocks the final row. This row is a meme about empowering your Shadow Covenant ability. We're just going to ignore it and pretend Shadow Covenant will continue to be shit. Maybe it won't. Maybe actually now that you can take these 3 things, it will be able to be actually used, but let's just assume it won't. You might want to go for Purge the Wicked for the spreading of Shadow War Pain, plus the Revel Impurity for spreading even more. This might become even more powerful because of Throes of Pain, because of the mana regen. Once you're here, you have your option of Spiritual and Evangelism. Yep, they are staying in the equivalent of the same talent row as they are now. What isn't staying in their same row, however, is Lenience. The 3% flat out less damage taken by targets with Atonement is now going to be available to be taken. You can also take Barrier, of course, as an obvious pick, and Lenience. You can then take Stolen Psyche. Atonement heals for 20% more when activated by Mind Blast, followed up by Solatium. Atonements granted by Shadowman last an additional 2 seconds. These two are shit. You don't really want them. What you do want, however, is this one, Lesson in Humility. Smite deals 20% additional damage if you have at least 3 atonements active. You will have 3 atonements active when you're ramping. When you're finishing the ramp of Discipline, ramping meaning spreading atonement to as many people as possible. Of course, you also want 20% more damage with Smite because it gives you more healing with Atonement, which also allows you to reach Light's Wrath. Light's Wrath is the returning Discipline artifact ability from Legion. Why? Very likely because Boon of the Ascended, the big ramp finisher of Discipline, after you have spread all the atonements you would boon for tons of damage, now it's gone. As we said, only Mind Games is left. So this one is now going to basically be replacing Boon of the Ascended as your big finisher, your big damage finisher after your ramp. You can also take Indemnity to make atonements granted by Power Word Shield last for 2 seconds longer and go down this road. Heavenfall makes your Power Word Radiance having a 60% chance to grant Power of the Dark Side. This can be good. Power of the Dark Side making your next penance empowered could be good because you want to use Radiance to tag many people with Atonement and then use Penance to heal them all. So using Power Word Radiance, triggering Power of the Dark Side to empower your penance is pretty good, giving you a 60% chance. It's pretty nice. Harsh Discipline, when Atonement has healed a total of 100 times, your next penance is free and fires 3 additional bolts. This could also be quite interesting. Here you can take your Halo and perhaps finish off with something like Exaltation to increase duration of Rapture and the effectiveness of the Power War Shield. And this is finished as a Discipline Priest. This is quite an interesting set of very powerful ability for your ramp, very likely for your raid setup. There are, however, a few things we have completely skipped, which is this side. This is very interesting because after taking something like Divine Star, for example, you could be taking 2 points in Twilight Empowerment, which is okay, but not too powerful. The real powerful thing is what follows. Wickedness. This is going to empower your either Halo or Divine Star. And the important thing is that Divine Star is going to be turned into Wicked Star, which will also silence enemies for 2 seconds when it passes through them. Now, in case you're not aware, Divine Star has a 15-second cooldown. This makes Divine Star a 15-second cooldown AoE silence ability. At first glance, this is the strongest silence/interrupt ability in the game, basically, given to a healer, given to Discipline. So it's quite the option in Mythic Plus, I would say. You know, very likely Mythic Plus you might not need things to spread Atonement to as many people as possible, of course, because you only have 5 players in Mythic Plus, so you will be able to spare 3 points to get here just to get the silence on Divine Star, which will be a must in Mythic Plus. If it makes it through live Dragonflight, this is going to be 100% a must in Mythic Plus, so you better start finding a way to cut 3 points away from Discipline to make it in here, because it's gonna be super powerful. Even without this, the normal Discipline Priest build seems very powerful. A lot of ways to empower your ramp, a lot of ways to do more damage. Even as we pointed out, this setup you have taken back Mind Games, you still have your big damage burst with Light's Wrath replacing Boon of the Ascended. You have a very empowered Mind Bender for even more mana regen, and Throes of Pain for even more mana regen. You have still retained many of your rotational abilities, because you still have, of course, Shadow War Pain, Shadow War Death, you have Mind Blast with cooldown reduction on Mind Blast, you have Schism, you have Power Word Solace. You still can go and grab 50% more damage of Smite. You can still grab something like extra bolts of Penance, and even take Harsh Discipline for a mega empowered Penance. So there is a lot of stuff that looks good for Discipline. They are losing nothing. They are not losing Barrier. They are not losing Evangelism or Spirit Shell. They are not losing something like Lenience. In fact, now they get it for free, because they would always play with these two without being able to get Lenience. Now they can. Now they're also getting the equivalent of a mini Devotion Aura, 3% damage reduction for targets affected by Atonement. So overall, it looks the best and the most promising out of the 3 specs of Priest. As I said, Shadow also looks quite exciting and quite varied in the different things you can go for, which we will see in the next video, which will be Shadow Priest. And then the last one is perhaps the most of the disappointing ones, I guess. It has the least amount of new stuff, the least amount of variety for choices. So that's why we started with Discipline, because it looked more exciting in terms of power for Discipline. So of course we still have to see just how much of this will make it to live, just how many of these things are going to be changed, moved around, swapped, cancelled and removed in favor of new stuff, different stuff. So it's still up to decision. It's interesting as a closure that Priest has very few, in fact I'm pretty certain the least amount of options in terms of choice talents, right? Here you have the movement ones are a choice, and then you have absolutely nothing else. In the entirety of the general tree you only have this option, and for Discipline at least you have the option between Solace and Shield Discipline, the option between Evangelism and Spirit Shell, and the option between Divine Star and Halo. Very boring. These are already talents, these are already talents, and these are already talents you have to choose. So very little is changing, you know. We can just go, for example, and pick something like Balance Druid, and we can find one choice, Wild Charge and Tiger Dash. We can find another choice, Mass Entanglement and All-Sorts Vortex, and then you have Incap Roar and Mighty Bash, and then what's more, you have another one here, 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 and god fucking damn it, another one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 choice options for Balanced Druid. All of the 3 different priest specs plus the default priest 3 have a total of 12 options, while the Balanced Druid alone has 7, which I thought it was interesting, the lack of options for the priest choices. That was all I wanted to point out at the end of this video for the new priest talent tree for Dragonflight, and then the little bit more of an in-depth look at the Discipline one for today. Eventually we will make our way through the Shadow Priest one, and then later on the Holy Priest one. With this being said, let me guys know what you think, especially the, of course, Priest mains, what you were expecting, hoping and wishing for these talent changes. And I'm sure many of you might have wanted, for example, to keep something like Boon of the Ascended, especially for Discipline and for Holy Priest, but looks like Blizzard is not on the same page. With this being said, we can stop here. Thank you guys for watching the video and for helping to grow the channel in any way you can, which includes, of course, liking and commenting down below, and of course also subscribing to this channel for helping myself my family, dogs and relatives as well. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, what would be appreciated is following me on Twitter, as well as subscribing and supporting me on Patreon as well, which will also give you access to my Discord channel wherever you might feel the need to ask me some questions, my thoughts, or your ideas or opinions about some content you would like to see. You can come and join there as well. Thank you guys again. See you guys soon, and in the meantime, let's hope this is the start of many weekly releases of talent trees for Dragonflight, or maybe not. Maybe we won't need any because the alpha and the beta are about to come out soon and we won't need to discover talent trees this way. We will just be able to see them in game. Hope you.